Hello and welcome to another drive-in double feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get anything to all, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in double feature podcast. My dear Dr. Nathan Watson,
Uh-huh.
I was at my local Sherlock Holmes fan convention where
hmm
I was, dressed up as my favorite Sherlock Holmes character, which is of course um, the chambermaid from the Hound of Baskerville.
Oh, I'm sure everyone was like, "Oh, I know you. You're the chambermaid."
Yeah, I just was like, yeah, and I just walked in and I just got like a round of applause. I won the costume
Good
contest,
job.
and then like the guy that was running the costume contest, it's like, hey, it's elementary that you subscribe to the Drive and
hmm
Double Feature Patreon, where you can get all kinds of fun games, conversations, some quizzes, just a boatload of fun over there. And they said, I hope Nathan and Ryan just realize how much we love and appreciate their podcasts. And I said, I think they know.
I know.
But like I said, it doesn't affect any regular content. It's only $5 a month. But today we're talking about 1959's The Hound of the Baskerville, which is directed by Terrence Fisher. This is a Hammer movie too. Have
Wow,
we done
another
a Hammer
hammer.
movie?
Yeah, we did we actually did one with the two main people in this movie. Cash on Demand. God.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean that's a weird hammer movie. That's not like the hammer we think of, but yeah, Cash on Demand.
Yeah. So, like I said, this is a Hammer movie, which pretty much you're either going to get one of two things. You're going to get Peter Cushing and you're going to get Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
And this
Or
one, Peter Cushing, what?
or in our track record, Andre Morel.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, Peter Cushing does play Sherlock Holmes in this one, and it does tell the story, The Hound of the Baskerville, which starts out with a very lord of the Baskerville family,
hmm
and he ends up taking this girl out and basically like I'm assuming they're going to torture or assault her in some way,
hmm
and she escapes, and the Lord chases after her, murders her in cold blood, and then he is killed by some type of being. Now, they do say like like the legend does say that it is this like werehound or like this beast of some type that's
hmm
attacking all these people. Then it's only attacking like people of the Baskerville family or like people that are like related to them or everything like that. And that's kind of what happens is that there's one Lord left, which is Christopher Lee's character, and Sherlock Holmes is kind of there to protect slash figure out what is causing all this.
hmm Yeah.
And
Well, because the opening is somebody reading the newspaper talking about like the legend and everything. Which I mean, this isn't about the plot, but right from the start, I always like get this feeling watching Hammer color movies because the colors are amazing. The way they are
yeah,
shown in this movie and like almost all their color movies because their colors are so bright and they're not afraid to use like a lot of greens, a lot of colors you wouldn't really see in movies. It's very, very pretty color movie.
yeah, everything I always like is just they always use very bright colors and
hmm
are just like you said, are just colors. It's just like we're just going to use this color just because,
Yeah, it looks
like
good.
they walked into a cave at one point in this movie and it was just the cave was green on the inside. There was this
Yeah.
green light shining. It's just like, why? It looks good. There's no
And
reason.
and I can't disagree with that thinking. It does look good.
And like even like the blood, that's like this very bright red
Mhm.
blood. It's not like this really dark like blood. It's just this very like almost paint-like blood.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like the calling card of a lot of these Hammer movies. Like I said, this is directed by Terrence Fisher, and I believe this is the same year or around the same year as the Dracula movie with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing as Van Helsing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So and this is pretty much like the usual type of team up for like Peter Cushing usually plays like our protagonist, and Christopher Lee plays like some type of antagonist role because he did. There was Frankenstein, there was The Mummy as well. There were also Hammer movies, and Christopher Lee usually plays like the monster or like I said, the antagonist of the movie. And
Yes.
this one, he does not play an antagonist character. He's just a guy. He's just like a really rich royalty
Yeah,
type of guy.
he's from Johannesburg, and he's the last remaining family member of the Baskervilles. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, it's funny to see him because you see him, and if you're not familiar with the story, it's easy to feel like, oh, he's gonna end up being the bad guy. He's doing everything, but no, that's not where this movie goes.
If you see Christopher Lee in a movie, it's almost a safe bet he is going to be the bad guy.
Yes, yeah,
But but not in this case. He plays she's she's basically like the supporting character in this movie,
yeah.
even though he gets top billing.
Yeah, because he's Christopher Lee, I guess. But yeah, so it's actually really interesting. Because Peter Cushing his Sherlock is out of the movie for about 20 minutes, and actually Watson, I would say, is the lead for a good section of the movie because he goes with him to protect him because they're scared of the Hound of Baskerville. Um, and yeah, Watson
And at many
becomes the
points,
star.
Watson does leave him like there's at one point where Holmes is specifically like, do not let him venture out on his own and like or take him outside or anything. And that's like
Mhm.
does the exact opposite. He like lets him go by himself, takes
Mhm.
him out in the middle of the night to go chase this monster, even though they have no
Yeah.
clue what this thing is.
Yeah, because like in a lot of Sherlock media, I feel like Watson gets treated like a moron. And he makes mistakes here, but he doesn't feel like an idiot. Like they don't play it that way. Like he's smart, but like of course he's no Sherlock Holmes. But Sherlock Holmes, it makes it feel like, oh, he knew Watson was gonna do this. So
I He does have his moments in this movie, I will
yeah.
say, where he does things that probably aren't the best decisions, but it's more so just like a human error, I would say, rather than him being like a buffoon or whatever. But
Yeah.
because my dad actually is he watched like some of those like real like the old like from the 30s
Really.
Sherlock Holmes movie. And I actually watched one not too long ago, and they're like the Watson they do in that one, he is so stupid. Like
Yeah.
it's just he's like barely can function. Like he's just like, why are you even here? Like you are just wasting space.
Yeah. Like, why would Sherlock Holmes just like carry around like this buffoon with him? It doesn't make sense, right? So like, I think like I'm not an expert on Sherlock Holmes or anything, but I like that this one he makes mistakes, but he can still hold his own. He still has a reason to be here, right? Um, but on another thing, let me say Peter Cushing as Sherlock Holmes is awesome. He not I
Yeah.
think his Sherlock Holmes is fantastic. He plays it so well.
Peter Cushing, I mean, if you may not, I mean, Peter Cushing is well known and like in his really later movies for some, I don't know, Star Wars. Yeah, Star Wars. I
Mm.
think they gave him like a bit role in that one.
They gave him a
They just
bit
kind of like,
role in this movie called Rogue One or something. uh
yeah, well, I don't know what that is. Why would those,
yeah.
I don't think those two movies aren't related. Why would you bring that up?
Oh, sorry. Whoops, my bad. My bad.
They don't have the same title, Nathan. It wasn't like it was called Star Wars 2 or anything.
Star Wars the
But
second story.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
But yeah, Peter Cushing, he's been like he's pretty consistent in all of his movies. Like he's
Oh yeah.
usually like delivers like a pretty decent performance like out of them. And I do like his performance as Holmes because at no point do you ever feel like he's like one step behind. It's like he's always thinking of like the next best step, and he always can. What I like too is like, he's able to figure out certain details without like he just kind of like they just kind of like brushed past like how he was able to know it, and he was just like, oh yeah, like I was able to determine by this and this and this and this. Obviously, anybody
Yeah,
with eyes could determine that.
and I like it because he's not quite condescending. Where like I feel like I'm making a lot of comparisons. I think about like the Robert Downey Jr. one. He plays it like condescending, right? Like almost like you're an idiot. Like this is exactly what happened. He plays it in such like a fun way. It's like almost very lighthearted. Like, oh well, of course, this is what I thought the whole time. I knew about the shoe since the beginning. Since I knew there was a hound since the beginning of the movie, kind of deal. I don't know. It's something fun about it.
What I do like is so Christopher Lee's character falls in love with like this basically like the what would you call her? Like she's like the
Wait, the Spanish girl?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, God, it's so hard to even say. There's like somebody who lives nearby, and she's supposed to be the daughter of that farmer, but she's from Spain. So she's like the love interest for Christopher Lee, but she's like very weird about everything. Because like Christopher Lee obviously likes her from the beginning, and I think she's just like, no, leave me alone. And then kisses him and is like, now will you leave me alone? Um,
yeah.
yeah.
But there's a scene where Christopher Lee's basically going to go meet her, and then Sherlock Holmes is basically just like, oh well, you're really royalty. I thought you would have been with a much higher class of crowd. It's only going to be like it's only going to cause you trouble being with those caliber of people. And
Mhm.
Christopher Lee like gets really mad and just storms off. And
Well, it was
and then
so
Watson,
British. That's what I thought. The way he says, like, I just want to remind you, Mr. Holmes, that you're a guest in my house. And then he leaves. Like his FU is just by saying, you're a guest in my house, okay? Don't say
yeah.
that. Very British.
But it was basically just so like because even Watson was like, Holmes, I thought you would be better than that. And it's
Yeah,
just like,
exactly.
no, it's like, are you bad? Like, of course I'm not actually like that.
Yeah,
It's like,
and yeah, you can tell.
he's like just doing it to get a rise out of him so that way he can actually lead him to the girl. But,
Hmm.
um, and then Christopher Lee, even like, I don't think he's like as big of a powerhouse in this movie as like I've seen him in other ones. It's very subdued role. It's not like,
Yeah,
I mean,
he's pretty
he's,
much the
he's
victim of the movie.
Yeah, I mean he's good in it, but I wouldn't say like he outshines anybody. I mean, like it's very clear, Peter Cushing is like the real
Hmm.
star of this one.
Yeah, exactly. Like Peter Cushing's the star, Christopher Lee is the side character. I mean, it's Christopher Lee, so he just has presence because he's Christopher Lee. But yeah, I mean, it's him. It's Cushing and it's Holmes and Watson. It's their movie, and then like some other side characters in the movie, like the kind of like it's like God, I don't even know what you say. The dead his father's just a relative of the Baskervilles. He's not even a relative. He's a friend of the Baskervilles, who I think he's supposed to be a red herring, right? Like he's
Oh,
supposed
the
to be
Bishop
the
character?
the bishop. Like, oh, he could be the
I, well,
one.
well, because he's like they give you like little hints of that because there's a scene where Christopher Lee has like a tarantula on
Hmm.
his shoulder, and they're like, "Oh no, that could have killed you. You have a weak heart. Like a bite from a tarantula could kill any man with a regular heart, a irregular heartbeat." And then
Hmm.
they just like casually brings up to them like, "Oh, well, like you're a big fan of etymology. Like you know lots of types of bugs, don't you?" And it's just like, "Oh, do I? Maybe I do." Type of thing.
Yeah, but
So
he's kind of like a drunk idiot though.
yeah, so it's like you said, it's just teasing that like, oh, this might be the guy, but it's
Hmm.
not. He doesn't affect anything in this movie. So one dumb scene I do think was dumb
Hmm.
was they go out and the hound does attack somebody and they go and they find a dead body and
Hmm.
they're like, oh my God, it's Sir Henry. It's, Christopher Lee's character. He's like, he's dead. And
Hmm.
then don't bother checking, don't bother looking. They're just like, we have to go back to the castle really quick or whatever. And it's just, and then, Christopher Lee's there. It's like, oh, you thought you were dead. I'm like, Well, yeah, you would know if you actually looked to see
Yeah,
if
that's a
that was him.
yeah, which that does seem out of character for Sherlock Holmes, right? I feel like for Sherlock, he would be able to just look like kind of at the body and go, "Oh, that's not Christopher Lee." But no, they just throw a jacket over him, I think, and leave.
Well, because they come back and it turns out like the Hound had dragged the body and then mutilated the corpse.
Yes, yeah.
And but they knew right away who it was by some of the clothes that he was wearing. But it was because they got thrown off because the victim was wearing Christopher Lee's clothes.
Yes,
And they're
yeah.
like, oh, well, since it's wearing his clothes and it's obviously him.
Yeah, yeah, but you're right. They should have like checked the body, but maybe they were so scared of the Hound that they wanted to get back. I
And they
don't know.
start quivering in their boots, like, oh, and
Yeah,
just
like a
like,
Scooby Doo situation.
yeah,
There's a funny bit where like there's a cave in, and they think Sherlock Holmes is stuck in the cave, and it's like a 3-4 minute conversation between like the group about like they're like, oh, okay, there's an air vent, we might have to get a rope and get him out of there, and they're like saying if Sherlock Holmes is dead or not. Walk to the carriage to go back to the home. Oh, of course, Sherlock Holmes is alive and he's sitting in the carriage right now. That was a funny little bit.
yeah, because they were in there like a while. Like I remember,
Yes,
like because
yeah.
they were all sweaty and dirty, like
Mhm.
because they were like trying to dig him out, and him just being a jerk and not saying anything, just like letting them do all that work for
Yeah,
no
could you
reason.
imagine? And they're like fighting about if he's dead or
Uh,
not, just to have a
Oh,
funny reveal.
I'd be pissed. I'd be like,
Oh
I
yeah.
am going to hurt you so bad right now.
I know, yeah. No, but I thought that was a funny bit. The reveal is kind of silly, right? Because the big thing about this movie is that there really is a hound.
Yeah,
There is a dog, but when you see the dog, it looks so goofy because it just looks like a dog. It doesn't look like
yeah,
they put like a fake mask on it, and that's part of the movie. That's not even like like the actual filming costume.
yeah. Well, that's the part I thought was kind of dumb. Was like
Hmm.
you said, like, do you see the dog or like the hound, and you're thinking like, oh, it's going to be like this huge wolf or
Yeah,
whatever, but it's a dog with like a wolf mask on it. It's nothing.
and
And
it's
like,
not menacing at all.
because the dog does go, the dog gets shot, and the fact that they have to like, wait, what? Like they like take the mask off of the dog, like it's the reveal of a Scooby Doo cartoon.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's
uh,
almost like one of those cat ear things that you would put on. It's
yeah,
not good. Um yeah, no, and that was silly. Also, they show the dead dog and it's like super bloody. I was like surprised by that. Like I mean, Hammer movies
yeah,
push the edge, but I just thought that was surprising.
yeah. No, they're usually pretty bloody, but I, you don't normally see like a dead animal like that.
No, it's still shocking. Even though this movie, I wouldn't say is that shocking of a movie. Like, it's a
No,
little gothic. It's supposed to be a little scary, but it is definitely like a solid detective movie than it is like a horror movie.
yeah, it's very light on blood in this
Yeah.
movie. It's nothing to be afraid of or anything. I mean, but
Mhm.
um, just I mean, overall, like the general mood and stuff of this movie is just fantastic. I
Mhm.
mean, I love like gothic type of settings like this where it makes everything look super interesting and everything. And I also love the aesthetics of like the architectures, like just the really old castle, or like we said before, it's just like the cave is green. Why? Just because it's a green cave,
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
um, and just like I said, you get great performances all around. Like I don't really remember anybody that's stands out as anything bad or anything. And
Mhm.
it's always a really good time to watch a Hammer movie. I haven't seen a terrible one yet. I think maybe there was like some of like the later Dracula ones, but like a lot of the earlier Hammer ones like this, it's
Mhm.
been pretty entertaining. There you
No,
go.
I was gonna say, I think like, yeah, this is like a really golden period of Hammer, especially for their non-horror movies. I mean, their horror movies are great, like the first Dracula, Frankenstein, Mummy. Those are all really solid movies, but I feel like Hammer has a whole bunch of other movies in their catalog that aren't tied to those horror monsters that are equally as like fantastic and don't get looked at, especially because they still bring in that weird coloring and like a really interesting look, and you're going to always have a great cast because you're always going to have Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing, which they're always going to deliver in a performance. And no, I actually really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a really great Sherlock Holmes movie. Probably ranks up there as one of my favorites that I've watched. I haven't seen a ton, but it's one of my favorites. And yeah, I know, I just a very enjoyable movie.
Yeah. And that's actually why I ended up picking this movie was because I have seen it before,
Oh, okay.
and this is the second time I've seen it, and I remember really liking the adaptation a lot, and I was just wondering if it still held up, and it does. It's probably one of my favorite adaptations, like film wise, of
Hmm.
Sherlock Holmes. Um, yeah, just really great all around. I'm always down for a good detective story, no matter who the character is. So
Hmm.
I would give this one a pretty high recommend.
Yeah, me too. You should check this one out.
Yep, go out of your way to watch it. But case closed, Nathan. So
In the slammer.
what? Yes, I'm going to take your mask off, and you're going to tell me what we're watching on Tuesday.
Oh, you took off my anime cat ears. Oh no.
You were
Uh
Nathan this whole time.
no, I was Dirty Harry this whole time because it's another Dirty Gamera week. And you know what? We are going to be talking about sudden